Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Voice of the New Human. My name's Kelly Atwood, and today we have Dr. Mel Gill in the house. So just to tell you a little bit about Dr. Mel Gill, Mel is a psychologist, a counsellor. He's also an author of several books. I think there might be 60 or 70. He might correct me later. One of them is The Meta Secret, which was a best-selling novel. And he's also the director, the writer and producer of the Meta Secret movie. Mel is also working on, I believe, a spaceship at the moment, so he's full of surprises. However, this time we won't be talking about the spaceship. We'll be focusing on possibility thinking. So without further ado, welcome, Mel.
Hey, Kelly, so good to see you again.
Likewise, I hope I didn't miss out on anything there in the introduction.
No. Everything is past. It happened once upon a time. We're looking to the future. So the stuff I'm about to do that I'm proud of hasn't been finished yet. So it's coming. It's all coming.
It's coming. So what are we to expect in the future? What's on the cards for you?
More books. 157 and counting.
So I was a little bit out there. I said 50 or 60.
Slightly.
157. Oh, I'm sorry.
It helps when you have no love life, and so you spend all your time writing, and it's a loner activity, basically. It's not a social thing. Hey, by the way, how do you put is there another word for rhyme?
Well, you do have a love life. Your love life is in your writing, I guess. So,
No, I actually hate writing, but I do it because it's too many things to do, to express to the world, and not enough time because I'm doing too many things. So does that sound like a vicious cycle to you? So I put it in writing so that people can follow in the event of my death from COVID or whatever, that, this is the train of thought. If you finish it, this is your executable outcome. This is what you will have. And so I'm leaving that kind of a trail for people in all my books. Yeah.
And someone else can take over from where you've left, for sure.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, look, today we are going to be talking about HSPs. Woo! So stands for people who don't know what a HSP is. It's highly sensitive people. I'm one of those. My two sons are HSPs. Often when you're a HSP, we're often empaths. We often might have some psychic ability, all sorts of gifts, but it can make it quite difficult because we can be so sensitive that we feel things more than your average Joe Blow, which means that we can also suffer from the A, B, C, Ds of negativity, which could consist of depression, anxiety, stress, all of those things, which we have to learn how to recover from quickly. And without further ado, Mel, I know you know a lot about this subject. Before we delve down into solutions, I'd love for you to talk about what sort of a boy you were growing up, whether you were a HSP, and what it was like growing up with your parents as well.
Okay. At some point where I remembering about life, about people and consciousness and my parents, I looked at them hard, and I don't know at what age, maybe 9, 10, and I said, really? These guys are my parents? That's not possible. I was left here on their doorstep. My parents are probably from a different planet because I can't find any suitable people here who can think like, the way I think about things. And every time I started to come up with a creative idea, it was always shot with, be practical, come down to reality. Where's your brain? You're up in the clouds. And I said, well, the view from the clouds is quite pleasing, actually. It's when you see a helicopter view of everything, you don't get too involved with petty little arguments and things like this. And so that's my ball, in the playground, and you're playing with kids, and that's my ball. And the one who thinks the ball is everything to him or her, will hold on tightly to it, and there'll be a war or something, people fight over and knock each other's head out because of that. But for me, it's really not your ball, it's everybody's ball. So, but since you are mentally off like that, here, take it. I can
Wow.
play with something else. You know,
You had a
it's always been like that.
you had a very different awareness right from the get-go by the sounds of it. You were
Yeah,
in what
yeah.
the coaches would call in the observer position, just observing things with your little observer hat on, which is very
I
similar to how I was as a child as well, you know, watching everybody
yeah.
thinking, can't they see that? Can't they see what's happening here? You know, even the most intelligent ones in my class, I thought. But anyway, so it's, I guess that's that other sense that we might have. We're very sensory and have it. Well, mine is a great sense of knowing with people. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It alienates you after a while, and you learn to keep your mouth shut because, like you said, if we're in the observer position, you almost always end up in the doggy style position, because a lot of people don't like that because it's very, very tough. People will say, "Oh, look at him. He's off his rocker," or that guy's strange. Don't get close. It's you can catch what he's got, and so on and so forth.
yeah.
And I remember in school, barely 14, 15, and I don't know about my language ability, and I don't know where it came from. I cannot even tell you to today. And I just spoke a different kind of English than everybody did. And people were having Power Rangers as their heroes, and Ultraman. I don't know if you even remember Ultraman. It kind of dates you, how Marine Boy and all this
Oh, I was more
Superman
into G.I.
comics.
Joe myself.
Yeah. For me, my heroes were Byron, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and a few other choice people from the past, including Khalil Gibran and a few other people. And so my friends were involved in relationships with girls in our school, and I remember that I found them interesting as well. The way they're able to think of multifaceted dimensions other than most men in a one-track mind. And they didn't know how to woo their women. I said, write them poetry. They didn't know how to write poetry. So I said, I'll do it for you for $1. Now, in those days, $1 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we were from a relatively poor home. So, our allowance was like 30 cents or 20 cents. So $1, we were rich. And I had maybe 10 friends a week who needed poems written, and I wrote and I gave it to them. And so I became the person behind the person wooing the person they were wanting to woo.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
I guess that's led you into some ghostwriting.
Well, there you go. Woo assassins.
There you go.
Yeah.
And look, from there, I think the audience would love to know a little bit more about what happened to you in Malaysia all those years ago. I think you were 18 or 19 when you had
Yeah.
your accident, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah, we were scaling a mountain in Malaysia and stuff like that. Lost my footing, fell. Long story short, I had compound fractures that needed to be attended to, and but it took 10 days to get to a decent hospital. And when we finally got to a decent hospital and some decent doctors who knew what they were doing, instead of scurrying around like Abbott and Costello and those cartoon movies, they gas gangrene had set in. Gas gangrene is the stuff you see in war scenarios, in the battlefield and things like that. And so the doctor said that I have a 50-50 chance of making it. He'll have to amputate above the left arm, elbow. And so voila, that became the story. And even then I came in and out of consciousness. And at one point during the surgery, I stepped out of my body and I observed myself and didn't recognize myself. And I said, who is this ugly? Oh, wait a minute, it's me.
You did not.
Yeah, I did. And I looked and I said, holy shit, this is, wow, okay. So, and then I went, next thing I know, I panicked because they were announcing the time of death and everything else. But the doctor never gave up. I remember he was still plugging away, doing what he needed to do. And next thing I knew, I just rose through the ceiling of this hospital. It was 4 floors.
Yeah.
And I could hear every conversation in that hospital by everybody in that hospital simultaneously. I
Wow.
don't know how to explain that either, because and how to pay attention to all of that. And so I believe that when we are exosoma, which is outside our body, when we are outside our body, we have several perceptual tools at our disposal that we don't have when we're inside this body. We're limited inside this body to our five senses and six or seven other senses. The sixth and the seventh other senses have to do with electromagnetic waves and also with light. And so we're sensitive to those things, but not a lot of people are paying attention. So when you say highly sensitive people, you're also talking about highly aware people. And so that's a little bit different, because there are a lot of people who are highly sensitive, but they're not aware. It's like, you know, they're walking into a field of energy between two people or something in the area, and they go, "Whoa, what the hell was that? You know, I don't know." And as opposed to someone who goes, "Wow, okay, a battle took place here years ago. Someone died, and the energies are still here." They're aware. They can tell and they can interpret. So that happened to me when I went through that whole tunnel of light thing, near-death experience. I met a being with long hair and a blue robe. And at that time in my education, I thought it was Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You know, somebody asked me now, a Buddhist asked me now, "Were you sure it was Jesus Christ?" Because they want me to say Buddha, they want me to say Krishna, or somebody else who would say that. And I would say, well, you know, on hindsight, I think it might have been the lead singer from Kiss, you know, Gene Simmons. I'm not sure. It could have been him. I'm not sure. But either way, that's not important. He had this energy he was exuding, unconditional love. It didn't matter what I did or what I said, what kind of an asswipe I might have been in my life, but just loving him. And he said to me in the nicest words possible, "Son, it is not yet time. You have to go back. There's a lot of work to do." So I argued with him, being who I am. I argued with him. I said, "Since I'm going to be back here anyway, and since I have to go back, do you mind if I stay for a little while?" I said, "No, not at all." No argument there. He handed me off to somebody whose face I cannot forget till today. Beautiful, angelic, I don't know man or woman, because they were all similar in that way. And non-gender specific, although you can feel the masculinity or the femininity, and this was a feminine energy. And she showed me around, and I think I was there for 9 or 10 days learning about everything, about in a very multi-dimensional way, simultaneously attending 5 or 6 or 7 different quote unquote arena type classes where there are thousands of souls attending the same discourse or chat. And usually it's a being in the center. You can tell the being is a very high being because of the energy that emanated from them. So when they spoke, even softly, you could hear it thousands of yards away. It was hard to explain. And so next thing I know,
just on that point, sorry to interrupt, but when you're on the other side, you're saying you can sense everything multidimensionally. So what does that mean when you've left your body? It means you can still sense the 3D?
How do I put this to words? Okay. Let's put Kelly today, Kelly tomorrow, Kelly day after, Kelly day after, day after, Kelly for a week, 7 Kellys, okay? All separate. Kelly today had breakfast. Kelly tomorrow didn't have breakfast, had lunch. Kelly the day after skipped everything altogether. Kelly the day after did some other thing. And so all 7 Kellys, which is you, did all of these different things. But in multidimensional perception, I saw the 7 Kellys as one doing all these things. There's no description for it. It's I can't say you move like 5 times faster like those cartoons, No, you're doing things at your own pace, but all at the same time. And so there is no end to what you did, and there's no beginning of what you did. It just was. It just was what you did. It's inevitable. And so the inevitability of everything happening with every creature on not just the earth, but the universe calmed you down to an extent where you felt like, things are really under control. It doesn't look like it's under control because you're trying to understand it from a 3D perspective, or the equipment that we have is like an ant trying to perceive nuclear physics.
Yeah.
How? It's never going to work because they can't conceptualize that way. Hell, I am older than an ant, more complex than an ant, don't understand nuclear physics the way I should understand it. And then there are a lot of people who talk about quantum physics, right? And in the spiritual world, there's a lot of people who are quantum physicists, who are experts in quantum physics, but never studied a day of physics in their life, can't do a single equation, but using all these generic terms, Some famous doctors in particular who are from India and live in America, I won't mention their names, are talking about quantum physics in a way in which everybody should be able to understand it, but it doesn't work that way. It's a little bit different. Yeah, there's a macro physics that happens and there's a micro physics that happens, and both of them are completely different. And the effects, I won't say quantified, but incrementally quantified. And it's hard to express that even, because all of it may appear like we may be in multiple universes where things have happened all at one time. And it is said, anecdotal evidence, not real, we don't know for sure, can't prove it, that Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, may have had that one moment where all of his multiple realities converged into one consciousness, where he was able to access back and forth. And because he was able to access back and forth, and he rose by a certain level of consciousness, that all of the other Buddhas, so Siddhartha Gautama Buddhas, were also necessarily thrown into that same space where they all exchange ideas, energies, thoughts and patterns, and then boom, all became one, and then there was no necessity to begin this life game again or be born again and and all of that. So people who walk between these two worlds are hard to find.
And is that the end of samsara? Is that right? I'm just thinking out loud.
No, Samsara lives about 3 doors away. I mean, she's a really great woman. I love her. She's amazing. You should hear her speak. No, I'm just kidding. I can't put a definition on it. It's a little bit tough. Yeah. All
right. So you came back to Earth again.
Yes, presumably, but not me. Not
back into your body.
Not the boy who left. That's the complication.
You think there could be another soul that's taken the place of the soul that left, potentially?
He didn't want to come back. That
boy.
Boy. Yeah. The boy did not want to come back because he felt it was really safe over there and and yes, he missed his parents and everybody, but he didn't come back. And so I volunteered to come back in his space, if that makes sense.
Yes,
to continue the life lessons. And I did. And how do I know that? I just knew that. I just knew that this happened. I just didn't know how to explain it because it sounded stupid. At that time, I was 18, 19 years of age. I can't even talk to my best friend about it. And I don't even remember having a best friend after that. But something interesting though, years down the road, about 15 years ago from now, a astrologer who was he did astrology as a part-time thing, and he did this Indian astrology. I don't know if it was called sidereal or something astrology, where he looked at your whole past, your present, your future, all of those kind of things. I said, hey, I'll be interested. And he was the head of CNBC Singapore.
Mhm.
So, an editor, head editor, chief editor, and I would think that he would know what he's doing and he's not off to make all these claims. So 2 days later, he calls me, I got to meet you, Mel. I said, look, how about we meet you on the weekend? It's so much, I got so much to do. I have to finish all this. He said, Mel, you remember the chart I said I'll do for you? Yeah. He said, I wait. There's no problem. He says, no, I'm looking at the chart of a dead man. I said, what time are you free for lunch? I
Oh,
said, great. So I came there. We hardly ate. He ate, but I hardly ate lunch. He showed me this chart and ended in 1976 in December. He said, this man died in December 1976. I said, yeah, that's exactly when it happened.
right.
Yeah. I said, how do you know?
Interesting.
But you're alive. How is that possible? So I gave him that date, December 28th, 1976 was when I was brought back again. I flew into this body. And so and then roughly early in the morning, I gave him the time. And he said, and then everything he pointed out, he did the charts. He said, yeah, 2 kids, 2.5 kids, 3 dogs, and wife. He did everything. He just explained everything. I said, that's me.
Would you say that was the beginning of your sense of possibility thinking, or were you already thinking that way before the accident? That was what initiated this style of thinking and led you into wanting to know more about, obviously, the universe, the mind, all of these topics?
I can't remember after the accident, and because of the heavy doses of drugs, painkillers that I was on, and the gas gangrene, a lot of my memory was wiped.
Okay.
Or this walk-in may have wiped it, but occupying the brain cells of this fellow, Mel Gill, I saw his memories and his relationships as if I'm watching a movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wasn't emotionally attached. I was just watching a movie and saying, how interesting. That was stupid. Why did you do that? No,
Yeah.
all of that, and always questioning.
So you've after the after the accident, what led you into studying psychology? I mean, did that happen fairly quickly?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it wasn't that led me into it. I was already in pre-med, and I was gonna do the typical Indian thing, just be a lawyer, doctor, accountant.
Yes.
So I was heading for doctor, and I think I was heading towards obstetrics and gynecology because I was always fascinated with the idea of bringing life to Earth, and how a woman's body is designed in such a way that the man's contribution is only 7 seconds, and the next 9 months, it's the woman that forms a complete human being that comes into the world and becomes the soul and so on and so forth. But that was cut short. And can you imagine? I can already see the jokes. Hey, there's that one-handed doctor. Give him a hand.
The one-handed surgeon. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I can even see my life story put in an autobiography as a doctor or something. He did it single-handedly.
Yes.
But it didn't work out. So I had to do something. I it's his only way. And I'm one of the few people who had to be very decisive, Kelly.
Yeah.
You know why? Unlike you folks who say, well, think da. On the other hand, and I cannot say that. So
that's right. You cannot. No.
Yeah, no.
You've only got one hand to play with.
There you go. There you go. So, yeah, I hand it to you.
We're going to talk I just to go back on topic again. So I know we can just go. No, we can go all over the place here. But I know your expertise is around possibility thinking, and I'm really wanting to share, with people what that means to have that state of mind and how we can get there. Particularly if we're prone to being sensitive and, we can spiral out. How do we get ourselves out of it fairly quickly, rather than being in it for days and weeks like some people are? I find it very difficult to break that loop, I guess, that pattern. So how do we break it, and how do we change that mindset?
Don't know. I'm just kidding. It's not one set of tools that works for everyone. Everyone is built in a different way. Their thinking patterns are built in a different way. Their education level is a different way. So you have to approach everybody singularly in what who they are. And now that being said, at the same time, you have to pay attention to the fact that most people in the world has developed most people in this educational process that makes them problem thinkers instead of solution finders.
Yeah.
So in school, we're taught to solve problems. We are told that someone who doesn't agree with you is a problem, and so on and so forth. So you leave it right there and you eliminate the problems in your life. And so a lot of marital relationships end up with problems and so on and so forth. So somewhere along the way, you can make the switch from problem focused to solution focused mind. You got to change the idea of a problem instead of calling it a problem, because a problem cannot be solved at the same consciousness that created it, Einstein tells us.
Okay, yep.
But we found that to be true. You sometimes have to take a different perspective. And the perspective change for me that was monumental was in Jamaica many moons ago, when I went on a marketing cruise with my son, who I dragged around with me and to do the work I was doing. And everybody opted to go to the waterfalls and to the city, Kingston and all that. I wanted to go with Luke because at that time he was taking certain herbs and what have you, and go to Bob
yes.
Marley's house. Yes. And so that was a hike. That was about 2 hours in the mountains, a drive up the mountains. And on the way, you know, there was all this reverie and music playing in the bus, and here was this lady who said, "Welcome to Jamaica, man. You know, in Jamaica we have no problems." And I chimed in. I said, "Because of the ganja, right?" She said, "No, man, it's not because of the ganja. That's extra. We have no problems because in Jamaica we have situations." I said, "Situations? What do you mean?" She says, "Well, if your wife catches you with the neighbor's wife, you don't have a problem, man. You have a situation." So everybody started laughing. I started laughing. I said, ding, a light went on. I said, wow, if everything in your life, if every problem in your life is a situation, then all you need to do is change one single variable, and you've changed the facets of that quote unquote problem. And you've taken yourself one step further, or you've taken yourself in a different direction, or you've given yourself a new perspective in how to see things, up, down, left, right, center. And that way, there is no problem in the world. There's always this, like right now, I have a problem with focusing. No, man, you have a situation where you can't focus. Now, what's stopping you? Let's find out. And what are you thinking about most of the time? Oh, this show with Kelly Atwood. Yeah, I'm just fixated on that woman. I just can't focus on my studies. Whatever somebody does. But so you get the drift. You get the drift.
Yeah. So would you say then it's better to question the situation and see it from different perspectives, and think of a few examples where that situation may not be a problem, just to help with the emotion.
Yeah.
To it.
How, why, when, what, and where, right? Those kind of questions. If you take a look and don't regard it as a problem and say, here, I have a situation. How did I bring it about? How did it develop? What was the cause of it? Because even if I give people a set of solutions right now, and there are many solutions on how to become a solution-focused person, if you don't fix the cause of the problem, it's going to generate more problem-focused thinking, you see? So you get to the source of the thinking, get to the authority that created that thinking process that started you on this path down depression and hopelessness, helplessness, all of that.
Yeah.
So how, and then where were you when all this began, and how can you go back and retrace those steps and give yourself better resources, Put it in your mind. Put it, if it's not in your mind, if it's not in your environment, go seek it out. Find it. The internet is so beautiful. It's such an amazing, if I had this tool 20 years ago, wow, I'd be on Mars today. It'll be so easy. But this tool is amazing. You can learn anything anywhere for free, for nothing, for no cost. And then I ask yourself, what exactly is the quote unquote situation problem? And then you find out is dissatisfaction in one thing or another. You're dissatisfied with your level of wealth. You're dissatisfied with your level of satisfaction, in love, in home, in children. You're dissatisfied in something, and so you want to change that. Dissatisfaction is not a bad thing, because all of society, all of the planet, all of civilization were developed by dissatisfied men and women. They were not happy with the status quo, so they changed it.
A bit like Mick Jagger.
There you go, Mick Jagger.
No satisfaction.
No, I can get no satisfaction.
No.
I have to teach people the opposite, though, how to find satisfaction in simple things. So happiness is the next book that I'm writing, the happiness myth.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. This idea of thinking that you're going to be happy 24/7 is it's a mystery to me that you can be like that, or that people talk about, or some so-called spiritual leaders project that they are happy 24/7. It's hard to believe. It's just not in the realm of the full human. At the end of the day, we have every single emotion inside of us. We may not stay in that emotion as long, or for as long a period of time as we evolve. And when we use tools like your tools as an NLP master, we can get back to that place
NLP.
Master. We can get back to that place of equilibrium a lot quicker. And that's the process.
They're not my tools, although thank you. But it's public tools. It's everybody's tools. I can see that as a younger man. Come use my tools. You'll be very happy.
The tools that you use.
Oh, thank you so much.
From a long line of others that have taught the tools of the trade.
There are some people and some gurus that seem like they're very happy all the time, because in that state all the time. Don't they? But then there are some gurus also, you got to pay attention to them. They have a great sense of humor, and that's how you recognize them, because they see things from a perspective that you cannot. You see it from here, and if you take a helicopter view, let's call it a helicopter view, that's the only thing you can relate, then you begin to realize it's not as bad as it looks. Example, if you're in the middle of a battle, and the battle is, to you, from your perspective, is about 100 meters in all directions, and you see nothing but blood and gore, and you see a lot of slashing and pain and anguish, and you think this is going to be the place you die. But you take a helicopter view and you find that 100 square meters around you is the only place that has conflict, and nothing beyond that, and everything is okay beyond that, and there's a way out. You just have to chart your way through, and you're okay.
From what you're saying, I see that the tool is really to stay in that place of the observer, that place that you had when you're a boy, the place that I had when I was a little girl as well, where
you still have
absolutely, but it started there. It started there, and we've brought it through into our adulthood. However, we do get knocked off our perch, particularly when we go through traumas, and then we have to relearn it as an adult. That's my experience anyway.
I never learned how to balance on that perch. I always fell off.
I just wanted to bring up Robin Williams. You spoke about him many years ago when he passed away, and I remember you saying to me that you wish that you could have been there for him. And I'm wondering, with all the tools that you have, the knowledge that you have, what would you have said to him?
You have to understand what he was going through at that time. with a diagnosis that he was not going to be able to speak or think effectively as he did as the Williams that we knew, and that he was always projecting forward into this life of complete dependence on others, which is also very uncomfortable for him. And even though he was surrounded by family and love and everything else, he couldn't allow himself to become dependent on that, and for them to be burdened by that person that is there. So for reasons that you have to think, it's not a singular track of thinking when it comes to him, because he's a multifaceted person. There was elements of depression as well. He would see the falsehoods in people who approach him, not for the fact that he was Robin per se, except for close friends that he went through poverty with and all that, but for people who saw him as a cash register, doing this movie, that movie, this part, that part, or being seen with him and so on and so forth. So that being said, when you sit with someone and you notice that the limit of what they see forward is only in the next month or 2 or 3, then you know you're looking at a person with serious problems, that they're probably will tend to be suicidal. They're not that they will execute on that intention, but they will tend to be, and they don't see the meaning beyond that. And so my job at that point, I don't know who got me to do the job, and that it's even my audacious attempt to try and do that job for everybody. I can't help everybody. And that's a consciousness I have to sink into and accept, that I cannot help everyone. And so what I would do with him is I would notice how far his future was and where it extended. What does he see beyond that point? The people who are driven, who see beyond that point. He was driven. I mean, my God, he was driven. The number of movies he made and everything he did, he just saw ahead. He saw this and that. He loved being busy. He loved people. I mean, for a person to decide at that point that I'm no longer going to have this is a heavy decision. It's a heavy commitment to make. Some people gesticulate and pontificate on the fact that, oh, he did this and religiously this is terrible, or that there must have been an emotional battle with his wife and this and that. I mean, these are all conjecture and they're not real, and they're all bullshit stuff that other people come up with. If you see the man for his contributions, then you begin to realize that he has helped many more people than he has ever met. Maybe 100 times, maybe 1,000 times more people that he wouldn't know the names of. But that being said, and I'm excited here, because on the other side, as if it's other side, but it's actually here. The soul that he is sees all of those indirect contributions that he has made to people's lives, and he's laughing because of what he has done.
He's fulfilled his purpose. You think he's fulfilled his life purpose?
7 billion people on this planet are unwittingly fulfilling their purpose, whether they know it or not, whether they're conscious or not, whether they're aware or want to be more aware. That's a different story. You're dissatisfied, you want to be aware. Okay, fine, no problem, but you're already doing it. And what great force, you call it intuition, hunches that push us in the right direction. You, woman, even when you're not doing this, are fulfilling your purpose. How long have I known you? 10 years? What?
2012 we met, and I get it, because sometimes we think we're going off purpose. We think we're meandering or we're standing still. I've had many periods in my lifetime where I felt I'd want to be doing something else, yet I'm forced to do this other activity. My other responsibilities come first. But at the end of the day, that really is part of my purpose. And my purpose may be just to be me and, the soul that inhabits this body, and to shine my own sense of me, the light, into the world, whether I'm sitting by a tree, whether I'm talking to somebody, or whether I'm you know, in a shopping center and just acknowledging somebody, and if that can bring someone a little bit of joy who may not have a lot of interaction with other human beings, then that gives me joy. And I've learned to find joy these
Absolutely.
days in really simple things rather than having to
Yes.
constantly think big, dream big, all these things which can really
Yes.
hit you off your kilter, and you think, oh, and then it all becomes too overwhelming. So to me,
Yeah.
and me being a very sensitive person, you've got to think smaller and then grow it and get bigger and bigger as you can manage and juggle it, if that makes sense.
What is big?
What is fate?
What is big?
Or what is big? Yes,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's the question. What is big?
Small, big, big, bigger, bigger, bigger. Helicopter perspective. And when you have that, you see the bigness of everything, and then you suddenly realize, wait a minute, it stretches to infinity. I'm never going to be able to realize all that in this capacity.
Yes.
So you just relax. And
Yes.
so when I hear someone with grandiose plans and ideas and all of that, I listen and I go, can I help this guy? No, I cannot. Is he going to execute, or she going to execute everything that he or she is going to execute? I take a look at what they've done so far. I take a look at their thinking process, and I'll know already they're going to achieve it. Or it's just next time I meet them a year later, it's going to be the same talk in a coffee shop somewhere, and we'll just have fun and expect not that much to go through. But some people I recognize are going to make it if I intervene just a little bit. Some people I just decide not to intervene, and I just watch the whole process, and then a voice inside of me decides and says, help this one, or get involved. And I, no, I don't want to. It's just tiring beyond belief. Like yesterday, I have to give you an idea. I had a cyst or something that was growing in my back because I'm doing those 5 or 6 kilometer walks, and my body's not used to sweating that much, and so I'm losing weight rapidly, and so my sister had to deal with this infected thing, and so a week later, and came the final review last night. So I arrived at her clinic at 5:30, and she was supposed to finish at 5, but she had a lot of straggly patients. And so she has a clinic in Singapore, and many people go to her. She's a legend in her craft. And so she had 2 or 3 or 4 other patients. So I was in the other room, and I was told to just relax. So I sat in one of those chairs, like a dental chair. I knew the controls. I went back, and I almost fell asleep. But I listened to every conversation that went on with about 3 different patients. And my sister was so patient and repeating pretty much the same thing over and over again. And they all had little, but doc, I did that, and I cannot. Well, obviously you did not, because the blood tests don't lie. You got to do this. You got, okay, I admit I did it. It's like, what the hell? And she does this with what, 50 patients a day? With no loss of enthusiasm, with no loss of that personable human being that she is. And I just said, I salute you, man.
Beautiful.
Holy crap. That's,
Yeah.
And I think that's a metaphor for how we should also live our lives. With every new person, instead of listening to them say, wait, listen, I'm building this, and this, and we're going to tunnel underground, and we're going to go to China, and they won't even know. We'll get noodles back. Blah, 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 blah. You listen to them, you go, wow, really? How are you going to do that? just listen, and that's it. Everybody just needs a listening ear. And by the way, you're paying for coffee.
Yeah.
Because this is working. Yeah.
It's
a little bit different.
Having a beginner's mind with everything that you see that's new, like a fresh mind, and with people that you meet as well. So you childlike mind, so you can get more out of the experience at the end of the day.
Except in my case, I don't know the difference between childlike and childish. So People have to tell
you,
me.
you can see me later. I've got a few sessions available this week.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes, mommy, I will.
we've got, excuse me, we've been going for an hour now, nearly.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry. Okay, let's get down to it.
We might. I mean, there's so many things I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Including your experiences with the late Bob Proctor. So maybe we can just touch on that for 5 minutes before we wind it up today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he worked with you on your movie, The Meta Secret. And I guess the question would be, what do you feel that Bob would want to say to the youth of today, particularly, the sensitive youth who is my market, the people that I like to help? What message do you think he would have for them? Because Bob's pretty black and white, isn't he? He was pretty black and white with the way that he would teach.
He was no nonsense, and he was the king of optimism. When we first met, I mean, we knew of each other because we were doing seminars in the same field, right? And so I remember having a contract with Malaysian Airlines, and he was there. He was doing his Born Rich campaign with all the pilots and all the things, and I was doing the other stuff, which was getting to decision-making strategies for the upper management staff. So I was doing that. But when we met at the Napoleon Hill inaugural convention, the very first one that they had, and I said to him, we had dinner, and I said to him, "Hey, Bob, I have an idea I want to pass by you." He said, "Sure." And he was talking to Vic Conant of Conant Nightingale fame. And Vic was telling him, "Hey, you look really good." This was in the beginning, 2007, somewhere around there. You look really good in that movie, The Secret. That time it just came out. And he turned to me and said, "What do you think of me in The Secret?" I said, "You look like a blithering idiot, because you are telling people, and you and I both know it doesn't work that way, that whatever they think about, they will have." And he says, "That's been your experience, but Mel, that's not been my experience." I said, "Well, look, Nicole Kidman hasn't called me in 15 years. So obviously it didn't work. I had a picture up there all the time." And he started laughing. And you know me, I would joke throughout the whole dinner, and he would be in stitches. So Vic, he couldn't control himself. He was just on the floor half the time. And Bob looked at me strangely and he says, "Okay, just have to tell you, they filmed me for 3 hours and only used about 20 minutes maybe to tell the story about the law of attraction." I said, "How would you like another 20 minutes? So we cooked up this whole Meta Secret thing, and we came up with it. Then I said, leaned in, and he said, "Why didn't you make the movie?" I said, "Where am I going to get the money from? That's a few $1 million that I don't have." And he said, "Where's the money going to come from?" I asked him. He said, he leaned over, and I thought he was going to tell me this secret thing that everybody goes to get money for the movies. And he said, "The money is going to come from where it is now." He said,
a big funnel from the universe.
Yeah, eat your chicken, Bob. It's getting cold. Yeah, but he continued and continued, and next thing I knew, I started it without having the full budget. Next thing I know, one thing led to another, and the money came whenever we needed it. It just came from working hard, from whatever. I cannot tell you it's magic, but I can tell you that when I needed it, for some reason, I pushed and I got it. Okay. So what Bob would say to every young person is, have your dreams, pursue them. Don't think about the end of when you're going to have it and how it's going to be done. Think about what you want. The how will take care of itself. The how will be the whole universe speaking to you and telling you, and that you're the one that will complete this race. You're the one that will take it to that end, because you have the end in sight, and you're never going to let go. And the people who are not successful are the ones who let go. Eventually say, maybe this is not my purpose. Maybe, whether it's not my purpose or my dolphin, it doesn't matter. The two are the same. But if you look at yourself and you start to understand that you're the only one that can do it, and you have this attitude when somebody says, why are you doing it? And you just say, well, if not me, then who? I'm the one. And so when you have that attitude, nothing's impossible. You can achieve any dream you want to achieve, any goal you want to achieve. Even if somebody says it's impossible, if somebody says it's impossible and you love that person, you like that person, you respect that person, then you begin to realize that that person also have their limits. They have their limits. And so you're looking at their limits by what they say. You know a person from the things they say. Sometimes you know them from the things they don't say, but that's true too. You just have to pay attention to what they're saying. And that's where you know to avoid them at all costs, or avoid it staying in your brain. Just let it go past.
So in a nutshell, it's about perhaps aligning to that dream, or staying aligned to that dream.
Yes.
And then it's about, well, how do we stay aligned to that dream?
Yes.
Without, yeah,
in
it's
a
all up
nutshell.
here.
In the nutshell. Yeah.
Possibility thinking.
Yeah.
Anything else that you'd like to say today before we go?
I haven't even talked about the other 11 ways to
we're
move
going
to possibility thinking. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So I think we're
just off on a tangent.
Yeah, I think we'll come back if you're okay with that. And
of course, I'm always okay with
another meeting where we go through the other. Is it 10 or 11 that we have left?
11. 11 so far. There may be more coming up as I get older.
You're right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'd love to join you if you're coming apart.
Are you having sessions with people at the moment, or are you more focused on your technological work?
The work I'm doing now?
Yeah, can someone get in touch with you and have a session? Or where can they get your book or your film?
On Amazon.
Okay.
It's all there. Yeah, it's all there. But our website at some point will be up, and then we'll sell directly from the website. There'll be better deals and things like that. I'm working on a huge NFT project that will benefit the planet. People who don't have enough money will probably, hopefully, make money from it. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many people just creating NFTs for fun, and they're thinking of themselves, profit, profit, profit. They're not thinking of the other person for whom the NFT is created, so that people benefit. And when people benefit, then the Meta Secret has done what it needs to do. Empower the world, maybe through wealth and abundance, which is what Bob wants to do as well. His abundance mindset is what everybody should adhere to. His one saying I can leave everybody with: from abundance, he took abundance, and still abundance remains. That's the infinite store of wealth that is everybody's birthright. And so I kept that in mind, even in the darkest times when I had nothing or lost everything. And I started again, and it was not hard. In fact, Bob was supposed to be in the next movie, Anything is Possible, which is outlining all the possibility thinking thing. But I was just a bit slow getting it all together. So, yeah.
Wasn't meant to be this time round. But thank you so much, Mel. I look forward to doing this again.
Looking forward. Such a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Bye-bye.
Bye.